They're the generation being raised with gadgets glued to their fingertips.
It's alarming. The kids are no longer getting outside, as you know. They're living inside and they're living inside their phones.
Locking themselves in their rooms, not playing outdoors. They're just addicted.
The struggle is real.
It's something that's constantly a source of tension.
My 3-year-old absolutely chucks a tantrum. But I'm like, you know what, girlfriend, we cannot watch cartoons all of the time.
But new research reveals screen time itself isn't going to ruin Junior's brain, and some types might even be good for them.
That statement's a crock of shit. You know, it's absolute fallacy.
There's a lot of harm, potential harm. I was quite pleased to hear that it was actually okay.
The review analysed studies conducted over 70 years with nearly 2 million children and found the influence of screen time across issues like depression, body weight, literacy and sleep was minimal.
I'm not necessarily overly surprised. Parents have to be really careful not to read too much into this to say, oh, we want to encourage our kids to, have more screen time, because I don't think that's the point.
Of course, the devil is in the detail. While the length of screen time may not be key, not all screens are created equal.
It's about what you're doing on the screen, whether you're interacting with someone on the screen, whether it's educational or not, and it's also about whether you interact with your child while they're doing whatever they're doing.
Experts now calling for guidelines to change, to no longer lump all screen activities together.
Speaking to grandma on FaceTime is great to be able to keep in touch, but spending 6 to 8 hours on a device because you're gaming is not great.
So can Aussie parents now just chill out and let kids have as much screen time as they want?
I'd still prefer them to be outdoors and playing sports and even gardening and cooking and doing life things rather than being glued to a screen.
Dr. Taryn Sanders is from the Australian Catholic University. He's behind this new research, so he's here with the scoop. Dr. Taryn, which are the good bits and the bad bits?
Yeah, so there was a bit of a mixed bag there, but certainly in the bad bits was social media. We found lots of evidence that social media was associated with risks for adolescents, such as depression. In the good books were things like educational apps, educational television, iPad apps that are educational, things of that nature.
But, I mean, I've got 4 children and as much as I desperately want to believe you, I don't. Because all I see is slack-jawed mouth breathers. Do you know what I mean? So even if some types of screens are having benefits on the kids, like how are you measuring those benefits?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So you're right that we can't necessarily understand exactly what the causes are here because we can't, randomise some kids to get iPads and other kids to not. So we have to look at what evidence we have available. And the evidence we have available tells us that, if we look at the kids and we measure the amount of screen time that they get, and then we look at an outcome such as their literacy skills, we can see a relationship between those. But what was really important here was that relationship was really small. So we're not saying that unlimited screen time is a good thing, and that's not what we're encouraging, but in moderation, there's probably not as much harm.
Ignore Kate, I'm still way in here. How much babysitting can we actually let our screens do for us? Like in terms of like a number of hours in a day?
I'd love to give you a hard number. The scientist in me won't let me do that. What I would say is that we're trying to let this research lets parents relax just a little bit. We're not encouraging unlimited screen time, but also, if you have to go and put dinner on, an episode of Bluey is not going to ruin your child's education.
I take the iPad away from my kids, and they're little, they're 5 and 7, and it's like taking crack away from a junkie. They are so addicted. There are tantrums. Surely that's a sign that it's having some kind of impact on their brains.
Possibly, but, I have a 2-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and he chucks tantrums when I stop reading him stories. And I'm not going to stop reading him stories just because he throws tantrums. So kids are obviously going to react when we take something away that they like. That's a normal sort of developmental response. What I would start to look out for is when you think that screen time is having a negative impact on something else. So if you think the screen time is having a negative impact on their social relationships, or if it's having an impact on their schooling, that's probably the time to start thinking about changing what they're engaging in or maybe how much they're engaging in it.
Overall, though, Taryn, do you think it's still better to get kids to read a book or play sport over playing a video game?
100%. My background is as a physical activity researcher. I'm all for kids being as active as possible. The reality is that if we take the screen away, kids don't just immediately substitute that time with physical activity. Maybe they'll substitute some of it with physical activity, but certainly screen time should not be displacing time that kids would otherwise spend doing those educational activities or engaging in physical activity.
Taryn, mate, the kids were on your side at the start of this interview and now they're right off you. But we appreciate speaking to you nonetheless. Thanks for your time.
No worries. Thank you.